Hello, salam, shalom, namaste, satsukal, aloha, hola, ciao, bonjour, buna, privyet, mabuhay, and jean dobre. It's really, really good to be with you again. And I know you'll be extra happy you're joining us today because we have a very special returning guest, and that's Carolyn Greenleaf, who is an author, speaker, teacher, and coach. And I'm so excited to have you back with us, Carolyn. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be on your show again. I really appreciate you inviting me on.
Yes.
Thank you.
I had such a great time with you last time. Oh, and so for those of you who are listening and you might have missed the last episode we had with Carolyn, we were talking about basically, like um, how to sort of get out of your own way, both at a personal level and also at a professional level, by understanding how our mind works at a conscious level, but also at an unconscious level. And also sort of like the thing I also very much appreciated is how you bring in a spiritual perspective into the conversation and our understanding of things. And so like taking all of that, understanding all of those different connections and then, to understand, okay, how do I live my life purpose? So I think that was a lot of, what we were talking about last time. And of course, we ran out of time. There's so much to talk about. And uh, here we are again to continue the conversation. And actually, before we do that, Carolyn, again, for just those of our listeners who may have missed the last episode, can you tell us a little bit more again about who you are and what you do?
Well, my name is Carolyn Greenleaf, and I'm a coach. I help individuals and business owners to really eliminate those blocks and those limitations that are preventing them from really expanding their business and really reaching their goals and really being able to um, you know to actually you know be in that place
Yeah,
where they are capable. They know deep down inside, we all know this, that we are
yeah,
capable of so much more. And so what I do is I help to release a lot of those innate, well, they're not innate, but those limitations. And most of them are unconscious
yeah.
level. Sorry. So this is a lot of work in that. And I'm also the author of Re-entering Eden, Reclaiming Our Wholeness and Divine Truth. And that is really about knowing who you really are and who
Yeah.
you're not. And really kind of making it, black and white, very, very basic as much as I could, so that you can really have a much better picture and be able to start to tap into more of who you are and how to do
Mm.
that. So, and I've been, teaching, and I now have a group coaching program as well. So, yeah. And then I speak on these different subjects as well. So,
Love it, love it. I love your breadth of experience and even more the depth of your wisdom. It's amazing. I just really appreciate your sharing like so much of that knowledge and that wisdom with us. Ah,
well, everyone has that. But that's the thing,
yes.
is that people don't, they have been entrained out of connecting to that internal wisdom.
Mm,
It's all there. We have heard it for
yeah.
eons and eons that the answer is inside of you, and it really is. But it's just learning
Yes.
how to retrain yourself into your innate ability to do that. And
Yes.
I mean, these limitations that I help people with, those are those are learned things.
Yes.
And it's not innate at all. If we were to, if we starting as a child, be really seeing, all of our natural talents and abilities to be really,
Yeah.
praised instead of, instilling doubt and all of these things, that really starts the whole lifetime of that type of experience and, limiting yourself and things like that. But that's all part of the experience too. And it's, what's to say, it builds character.
Yeah.
And there's a whole other backstory behind all of that, but to keep it a little bit light.
Yes. It's just the other day I was watching an Indian show that was portraying some of the characters from one of the great Indian spiritual classic stories um, involving characters basically from the Ramayana, which is, like a great epic tale of good versus evil. And uh, but a lot of it also has to do with, like learning about who we are and sort of coming into our um, understanding of our life meaning and purpose and recognizing our powers and so forth. And in one of the scenes, the um, one of the characters there was challenged by one of the divine beings, and they were asked, okay, like in order for you to cross over this challenge, you have to answer a question. And if you answer it correctly, then you get your heart's desire. If you don't, then you'll be in big trouble. And the question was, well, why is there suffering in the world? And why are there challenges and difficulties that uh, humans have to face in the world? Is there a point to it, or is there no point to it? And the answer the character gave was, there is a point to it. And the point is that each challenge presents us with an opportunity to learn something about ourselves that brings us closer to the divine. And that is, the most important and beautiful gift. And so actually every difficulty, every challenge that we face is a beautiful gift. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. Hope you're getting value out of it. For your information, this episode has been sponsored by the Happiness 101 program. Are you a change maker, coach, trainer, or healer? Are chains of fear holding you back from making the impact and income you desire? Using a unique combination of positive psychology and the spiritual wisdom of our most effective change makers, the Happiness 101 program helps you break through your limiting beliefs and manifest the abundance and success you desire with fun and ease. Interested? Book a free Happiness 101 exploration call with me, your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Just use my online calendar link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
That's, and that in a nutshell is what this reality is about. You can call it these realities based on duality, right? We're here understanding and learning more of who we are by experiencing opposites.
Yeah.
So these difficult situations, these blocks, everything that limits us, we need to see them all as gifts. And that's when you can start to unravel that gift, is when you just stop resisting it and begin to accept it and see it as this is a great gift for me. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it here? What am I meant to learn? What am I meant to understand more about who I am?
Yeah.
A lot of it is, how strong you are, how capable you are, how brilliant you truly are. When we start to see all of our struggles and challenges as they're actually gifts,
Mm-hmm.
then we can start to work with them instead of against
Yeah.
them, and
Yes.
that's a that is how you move forward.
Yeah. When we talk about um, recognizing the gifts and moving forward, really coming into our own power and all of that, I really think about how, a really important aspect of that is cultivating our leadership skills or even coming to recognize ourselves as leaders, because I know I had this challenge where I never saw myself as a leader when I was like growing up and even well into like my young adulthood. Even I think things started changing for me when I started college in America because like for me, my first formative experiences or exposure to America were in the context of starting college over here soon after my family immigrated here. And it really changed a lot because here in America, I found a culture in college where I was constantly being told to think for myself, to assert uh, my opinions and, um, just participate in different kinds of activities, even outside of the classroom. My experience going to school in India, in Pakistan, in the Middle East before coming to America was very limited, much more limited in the sense that I would go to school, study whatever needed to be studied in the context of the classroom, homework, and then that was pretty much it. But here it was like, no, join clubs. What extracurricular activities do you have? All of that. And so the more I got um, out into the world and taking on these different kinds of roles, slowly, I started to get feedback also that encouraged me to be like, oh yeah, look, I just did this that actually was in the context of a leadership position. So maybe I am a leader and maybe I can become even a better leader and do more. And so that was like very cool and empowering. But then when you start to think about leading other people, um, you know, s- uh, challenges can come up. And especially, once you start thinking about it in the context of, oh, okay, I created my own organization, my own business, as a lot of our listeners have, then definitely leadership can take on all kinds of new, like new opportunities present themselves, learning opportunities. Um, and so, yeah, I would love to talk to you more about all of that because I know you have some amazing insights on that.
Well, um, I think that your story is really beautiful, and that you came you know, um, from the Middle East, where you know, you were not treated really as a leader. Women really are not treated, in that way, and so you experience the opposite of your truth. And I think that now you are able to really appreciate much more this leadership quality within you. So, I see that as really a gift and an amazing path. It doesn't matter the size of the business, but I feel that you need to, I think that the mission statement is
Mm,
really critical Because here's the thing, is that it kind of brings everything together. Because when you are creating a business or you're growing a business, when we see that business as it's a living entity, it's not just a thing. It's something that is connected to so many people. It has a purpose, okay? You know, and you can also see it as a child that needs to be nurtured, that needs to be looked after. And I think that creating a mission statement, you are kind of like identifying this organization. And within the mission statement, there should be also, what are the core values? Core values that this business, this organization is really, what's at the heart of it? What is it that we do for ourselves, for the community, for, you know, on multiple levels, on every level, just really thinking deeply about what is it? Because again, you're creating the heartbeat within this corporation or this business. And then also making sure that everyone can, or all the employees, all the leadership they understand what the mission statement is. They understand it very thoroughly, and they're aligned with it. And if they're not really aligned with the values of what this business is, then they shouldn't be there. You need to, you know, bring in people who do understand, who are aligned, because that is really, you are nurturing that heart with others who are really connected to and believe in what you're doing.
Yes. Yes. You know, you made me think of some really good examples in terms of what I have experienced where I've seen how this can play out in life. So you just reminded me of something that I experienced. So I was actually interning with this company where they, had built a really beautiful culture. And, like as an intern, I experienced like something that I felt was really beautiful and I was really inspired by. And at some point, they brought in another member of the team who was supposed to take over like the marketing of things, and they made like all these inspiring promises about how they were going to take the organization to the next level, and that we as an organization would be able to do even bigger, better things as a result of the greater exposure we would get, et cetera, et cetera. But unfortunately, what happened is that very soon we started experiencing conflict and tensions emerging in the organization. And it got to a point where, our founder had to just be like, no, we need to just put a stop to everything. And she just literally shut down everything and then had to take a break and then come back with, well, first get rid of that particular person because the way that they were, I mean, I'm sure they were a great marketer or whatever in their own right, but the way that they were approaching things was not aligning with the values and the mission and really the heart of what the organization was. And so it just caused so much turmoil that until the founder was able to get rid of that person, remove them from that position, remove them from the organization. We couldn't get back to work.
And that's leadership.
Yeah.
Having that person put a stop to that.
Yeah.
And to recognize what's going on and knowing that no, this is not aligned with where we're going. So
Yeah.
that's a really good point. And anyone who you hire outside of the business, again, they need to really understand also what your mission is,
Mm,
and to be in alignment with it. And they need to, formulate their strategies or their assistance in a way that's going to honor your the mission statement, the values, and as well as all the people. I mean, all the people are all part of if you see the business as a child, a living
yeah.
entity, every single employee is part of the
Yeah.
family. So you need to make sure it's
Right.
a family.
Yeah, but I think the distinction you drew between um, not only them having a clear mission statement, but also the values, because I think some of what happened in this case is when this new person came in, they were on board with the mission statement, but their understanding of how they were going to execute uh, was problematic because there was a mismatch in the values and not necessarily even the interesting thing was that like if you just say the words, okay, like we have a value for acting with integrity, well, and compassion and um, promoting um, um, like uh, whatever, like let's even just say compassion and integrity are two central values that we have. Well, but how do they actually look in action? Because theoretically, you and I could be like, yeah, of course, we agree. We have to act with integrity. We have to act with compassion. But what does that actually look like in action? And I think that was sort of like where we started to notice differences in interpretation
Mhm.
of how to live with integrity and how to
That,
live
that
with
brings up
compassion.
that brings up a really good point, and I think that maybe with formulate the mission statement with as much clarity of the values as
Hmm.
possible, and then also have an expanded version for people who are coming in, because you have
Mm,
your public, version
yes.
of your mission statement, and then maybe more of an expanded version, so that the people working with the business, they understand what those values, how you are interpreting those values.
Hmm.
So just to be very, very clear, and everyone is on the same page, because it just is very, very costly to
Yeah.
hire the wrong person.
Yes.
Very costly.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It was a tough thing to do. I mean, I was just an intern at that time, but I could feel how difficult the situation got. And oh gosh, yeah,
Yeah. So the lesson there is clarity, clarity, and understanding the importance of really screening the people that are connected to the business. And
yeah. And maybe something about like, and I mean, I suppose there's some things that you just cannot really figure out about a person or know about a person until you begin to work with them um, in a more
yeah,
expansive way.
right, right. That's difficult to do, but I think that the company with its mission, within its mission statement,
Hmm.
and like I said, if you have like a more expansive,
Yeah,
clarifying statement, more
yeah,
expanded version, to explain how you interpret those values, and
mm,
just kind of keep going into more and more detail,
yeah,
and to make sure that the people that you're considering to come on, they are reading that,
yes,
and to see if they can really align with that, because then the responsibility is at their feet,
yes,
because of course we always have to take responsibility of was I clear enough?
Yes.
Was I, in multiple different ways, and
Yeah.
it's all learning. It's
Yeah.
all about, and as we had talked about before, these challenges that come across our way that we're not too crazy about, they're meant to help us to learn and to grow and
Yeah.
to become better leaders and
Mm.
to build better businesses
Yeah.
and authenticity. That I think that the demand for that has been growing and growing over
Mm.
the last several years, and I think that it's really, we're just going to see it really explode even more and more. The demand for authenticity, for transparency, and that because
Mhm.
there's been, a lot of distrust, and I think that, as again part of the organization, the mission statement or whatever, part of the values too. It's to be really authentic in the way that you are communicating with the public, in
Mm.
your marketing, in all the other various aspects of the business. That you really need to be very mindful of what's being said and really own up to everything and
Mm.
just kind of look at everything again.
Yeah.
And also, I think that the mission statement needs to be, looked at and revised, every so often.
Yeah.
And I think, and to question, are we really being authentic in all areas, in all ways?
Mm.
Because the more authentic that you are, and and figuring out how that looks, you're going to become much more attractive also to the public that are
Mm.
looking for businesses, for people that they can trust. And the more
Yeah.
authentic that you are, the more that they're going to feel that, they're going to see that, and you have to
Mm.
not just say it, you've got to also you know um act, in that
Right.
way. um,
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk about authenticity, it made me think about mm, the idea of authenticity in a slightly different context than perhaps what you are sharing right now. And that is in the context of each person on the team being able to be authentic and authentically express themselves. I mean, of course, the business as a whole, as an entity, there's an authenticity aspect, or context within which it can and should be authentic. But when we are thinking about each individual that's part of the team, that's like really forming the fabric of the organization, and each member of the team being able to be authentic. Um, um, because so here's like another experience that I had, another organization where I've worked where to some extent, like um, I understood that, okay, I am an employee at this organization, and ultimately the vision that is going to drive the organization is that of the founder. And I totally fully respected that. Uh, and at the same time, I was assigned a certain role to play. And there came times where the way I was being asked to play those roles, do my duty, or fulfill my responsibility, I started to feel a sense of conflict with my values and my being able to be authentically me. So, for example, you know, I'm a very positive person. I'm a happy person. And I, work very consciously, what?
Conscientiously.
Yes, to cultivate that about myself. And, also I have a great personal value for equity and treating, so for example, equal pay for equal work. I really believe in that. And, you know, when we were in this organization, there came a time where I started to, um, um, well, there were people who were like, Sammy, you're too happy. You're too happy. It's like unprofessional. And I was like, okay. I'll try to tone it down. That wasn't such a big deal. Um, so I did what I could to be more professional as per the definition. But then there was like, things just kept coming up over time where another time we're like, okay, we need you to hire somebody for this or that task. And we had to hire multiple people for that same task. And but then it was like, oh, uh, we don't have to pay everyone the same, even though they're doing the same task, because apparently one person offered to do the job at a lower price point, someone else offered to do it at a higher price point, and it was like, well, the person who was doing it at a higher price point wasn't willing to come down. And so then I was like, well, then we should pay both people the same at the higher price point. And it was like, oh no, why should we do that? And I was like, well, equal pay for equal work. And, that's like really important to me. And I thought, that this would be a value that was important to us as an organization in alignment with our mission statement and so on and so forth. And um, it turned into, at the end of the day, there were other team members who spoke up and they were like, yes, okay, equal pay for equal work, we'll go with that. But we had to have this like whole discussion and this whole process and go through to like come to that conclusion. And then this was just one of additional incidents that eventually that I was like, okay, you know what? Like I'm not able to be authentically me in this space and I need to step away. So how do you hit or do you even want to try and strive to hit the balance between where each member of the team can be authentic? I mean, and if you're the leader of the organization, how do you sort of balance between like, your vision, your way of doing things, but then also allowing the people who are working with you, for you, to also, you know, be authentic, but also I don't know, like
Yeah,
it,
well, I think
you know,
that this, again, coming back to, you have your mission statement at the
yeah,
core, and I
yeah,
think that that the leaders of the organization, they all need to kind of, they all need to kind of, well, they need to formulate something. Okay, and
mm-hmm.
this is, I think we're talking about some new territory here,
Hmm.
and a new way of creating a really growing and thriving business that is going to really benefit everybody, not just some, but everybody.
Yeah,
So I think that it's, really defining, how are we going to show up as an authentic business, as a very transparent, people understand what we are about and how we help in all of this, and on all the multiple levels. And also, when I mentioned before that, the the employees or the members of the company are like, they're part of a family, and so the family is either going to be dysfunctional, it's going to be functional.
mm,
So when you're going through, the screening process of hiring people, I think that's really important, that the company really gets to know, and how do you do that? Again, that's where you need to kind of really think and define what what the business is really all about,
Mhm.
and on deeper and deeper levels, I think,
Yeah.
and formulating something where when they are going through the hiring process, that the people who are, possibilities, that they fully understand, that they understand, again, what the company stands for, all of its values and things like that, and also being, you know uh, if this and hopefully, more and more companies are equal, pay, equal pay for equal work, and all these other wonderful qualities and values. But I think that that company also needs to, decide that we're going to encourage that people be their authentic self, because
Mhm.
when you are encouraging more authenticity, and also making sure that they are in a position that does honor their gifts and their talents, what they're really capable of being,
Yeah.
um, to really get to know, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm really thinking out of the box here. So I don't know. There's a way to put this together, and I think it could be really brilliant. But if businesses could really decide to really nurture, going through the choosing process, okay,
Yeah.
they need to have employees that are aligned, and they fully understand what this business is about and its values and everything about it, to really go through that. And then to go through a different process of really understanding what the strengths and capabilities and all the different talents that each potential employee has, and to
Mhm.
place them properly. Okay. Also understanding the values of that employee, so that they can honor, so they can say, okay, well, you would be better suited, with your talents and what you value in this position.
Yeah.
And you have a business with employees who are just happy. I mean, they can just be them and be who they are. And that business is going to grow like nobody else. I mean, it's going to flourish. There's going to be no turnover. And just think of how the founders of that business are going to feel. That expand.
Mhm.
You're going to feel there's going to be so much expansion on
Yeah.
multiple levels,
Yeah.
that, this is what I see businesses going towards in the future. At least that's what, I think that the opportunity is there. And it's now, this is what the public really, really wants to see. And
Yeah. And I was like trying to think about from a spiritual perspective if there's any insight that we can have in terms of how we can be the very best leaders, best in terms of the most wise, perhaps, wise in terms of, you know, being the kind of leaders that help ourselves and also help the people around us with 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 the in some ways the core life meaning and purpose that we all share, which is to learn and grow and become better people, right?
what if these businesses that are really choosing to be more authentic, to choosing to
Yeah.
the age-old practice of meditation,
Mm,
because this is how we connect to our authenticity. This is
mm,
how we connect with, I think we talked about on the other show, you have your conscious mind, your unconscious mind, okay?
yeah.
All of this in here, it's all very logical. because it's been done before, right?
Mm.
The mind is like the computer. It only
Yeah.
knows what has already happened or only what it's already known.
Yes.
To go outside, to really expand your possibilities and go outside the box. And this is where expansion at all levels, and really connecting to all the different creative ways, the multitude of ways that
Yeah.
you can expand your business and yourself.
Yeah.
That is through connecting to the higher mind. And
Mm.
to do that, you begin that process with meditation, going inward,
Yeah.
because remember what I think at the beginning of the show, we said
Yeah.
all the answers are inside. It is absolutely true. It is not just a lovely phrase that we say. It is the truth. And, I think that, um, you know, if businesses would encourage and begin to, you know, have meditation as,
Mm.
you know, part of you, like, I don't know, you know, I, for some people this may sound silly, but for others, no, this makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
I think that having and encouraging daily meditation of at least 20 minutes, that would really greatly benefit a business, its employees, everybody. And
Mm.
really, if you just tuning to yourself, just stilling the mind and just tuning into the heart, to the
Yes.
higher mind, just being still and coming in with a question. You have a
Mm.
problem. You're not quite sure how to resolve this issue or this problem that you're dealing with within the business or within your job or whatever. Um, Quiet yourself and bring the question to your higher mind.
Yes.
Feel and receive. People have been trained out of that. That
Yeah.
actually, meditation, connecting is actually very innate. It is innate.
Yes.
And when we meditate, it is like the weaving of this. We are saying, let's see.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we're connecting
Yeah.
the higher mind, the spirit, with the
Mm.
physical mind. We're creating that team. That's what we're meant to do. And this is where we get those ideas and even
Mm.
guidance. Okay. And
Yes.
then, becoming conscious and aware of it, this makes that connection. And
Yes.
amazing, amazing things can happen.
You know what you just made me think of? Stories of Gandhi ji. So, yeah, uh, probably everyone in the world knows about Gandhi ji. He was, one of the founding fathers of India. He was very much committed to nonviolence as the way in which he led Indians to independence from being colonized under the British rule and so forth. But he was, a very deeply spiritual person, and what you were talking about triggered memory of, our learning about how, like, at different points in time, uh, when they really had to be like, okay, what do we do now? Because it was a long struggle, it was a hard, difficult struggle, and at various points, they had to figure things out in terms of what are we going to do? How are we going to keep the struggle going and do it in a way that's, best and um, so forth. And a lot of times, Gandhiji would go into meditation and be like, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to meditate, and then we'll see what answer emerges. And one of the most famous stories of him doing this was when he decided to, when he went into deep meditation, and then the answer he came out with was to go make salt, because that had been something that was forbidden by the British, that Indians couldn't make their own salt because the British wanted to force them to buy salt from um, Britain and so forth. And so Gandhiji basically was like, I'm going to go make salt. So he said, I'm going to go march the ocean and we're going to make salt from the ocean water. And so he started marching and like then thousands and millions of people joined him on this march and it became one of the actions that they took that was seminal to growing the movement for independence, but also in terms of produced results that moved the whole freedom movement and mission forward by leaps and strides, and just turned out to be this really important thing that they ended up doing. And he literally, the way he got that idea was he went into a deep meditation.
The answers are always available. So many possibilities are available.
Yeah.
You have to go within. You have to make that connection.
Mm.
And you will have the most amazing answers, the most wonderful ideas. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you just now that we're talking about meditation as being a way to find the guidance and the answers, uh, I'm thinking now there's so many stories coming up of like various prophets who will go into meditation. I remember in one of our interfaith dialogues that we had, we were talking about fasting in different faith traditions. And I remember in the Christian and Jewish tradition, particularly, they were talking about how a lot of their association with fasting is related to times when the prophets in the Bible were guided to engage in prayer or fasting as a form of meditation to receive guidance at important moments in life. And we have those stories in the Quran as well. And it's amazing that we don't, I mean, we know the stories, but then we sort of disconnect them with, well, how do I apply this to my life? And we forget about it until we get reminders like right now. Thank you, Carolyn.
Yes, yes. Well, we're trained to just plug into the mind what's logical, what the outer world is telling us to do.
Yeah.
And so, it's up to us. And again, that's part of the gift of separation. I call it separation from self, from your real self, your bigger self, so that you recognize that, oh my gosh, I don't have I'm not happy. I feel disconnected. I don't feel whole. And coming back and just practicing meditation or fasting. Yes, you're right. That is a way of connecting. It just happens. There are many different ways, but most people are familiar with and are very accepting of meditation. And I think that there are many leaders who do meditate, actually, and many brilliant business people also. They understand the gift of meditation, the power of that.
Yes.
And we talk the theta state, the miracle state. That is that state in between. It's almost like it's not sleep state, but it's a period that's that I think it just goes under the critical mass, the critical component within your mind, so that you can be open to all the different ideas, all the different creative possibilities, all the different answers that are available. There are many. I think medicine or something, he would take power naps.
Mm.
And he would, which I hope I do the story justice, but I think it was a ball or something he would hold. He would hold something so that as he was going into sleep, okay, the moment that he dropped the ball,
Ah.
he would wake up. Because
Uh-huh.
that was the moment, that was the theta state. That is the state where you, through meditation, you can achieve. And that's
Mm.
where you get all of these brilliant ideas from that state.
Mm. Nice.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So if you look, it's out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
People have been doing that for ages, ages.
Mm.
But society just started to have a different look at it. Didn't see the value within it,
Yeah.
and so. But it's up to us to begin to say, you know what? You start with 20-minute meditation every day, and you start the practice, and then you start to use it as a really wonderful vehicle to, again, you can come in with a question, with a problem, and just, be very clear about it
Mm.
and just relax. And just, it's kind of, just let it go. Just, it's kind of like
Mm.
this is the situation. This is, I need an answer to this, and just surrendering it basically,
Yeah.
and just being very open to receiving an answer, to receiving some, maybe it's the next step that, that you need to take, but
Mm.
something will happen. And if anything, you begin to experience that inner peace, more clarity. There's a multitude of really wonderful, um, just laugh. I'm thinking of too many things. Um, Many wonderful things that happen to
Yeah.
you as a person. Again, you become more clearer, you become more at peace. You're not this reactive person. Your emotions are much more balanced. You become a more balanced person just by practicing meditation and then
Mm-hmm.
using it as a tool to receive answers, to receive, different ideas for growth, for whatever it is. It's all there.
Yeah. It makes me think about also, and like this is a question that I'm asking. So we're talking about meditation, and we've given some examples of leaders within organizations or leaders of movements going into this process to come up with insights and so forth. But what about like if I have an organization, my business, is there a value to cultivating a culture where we all meditate together?
I think it depends on the business, the owners, the founders, whatever. You could either do that, or you could, um, you know, offer someone that comes in and teaches them the proper way, a really good way to meditate,
Hmm.
um, and just, let them do it on their own, at their own time. Or wouldn't that be really interesting, kind of cool, if there was a meditation room that when an employee, when they're just getting stressed and they're just, dealing with a project and they just can't get anywhere, and they need to just stop and they need to meditate, but it's maybe the environment is too busy. What if they just went into the meditation room and they
Yeah.
just like this? Within 20 minutes, they could step out with
Mm.
most brilliant solution and just get right to work. You know, I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it as a group. You can teach it and then encourage everyone to practice it every day,
Mm.
because it's not just for the business; it's for them personally.
Yeah.
So and this is part of being an authentic, really caring, wonderful business.
Yeah.
That again, all comes down to mission statement, the values and all of this. But every business needs to also care about the well-being, the personal well-being of every single employee, not just them as an employee, but who they are as a
Yeah.
person. They
Yeah.
want them to be healthy. They want them to be happy.
Yes.
They want them to be stress-free, right?
Yes. That is such a great point, to care about people in your organization, not just as employees or producing things for you, doing work for you, but to care about them as people. And I think that if we have that approach, that would actually mitigate a lot of situations where, we ask our employees to put themselves or in situations or have expectations of uh, employees that end up compromising their personal well-being. I mean, like working late overtime hours, working at times when they should really need to be with family or, things like that. And I mean, there's such toxic culture. There's so many organizations have very toxic cultures, work cultures. Uh, Even if it's not toxic in terms of the work that you're doing, but it's toxic in terms of it just um, it's like a culture that makes
It
you
does, yeah, it
ignore
does,
other
yeah, it
aspects of
doesn't
your
honor
life.
you as a
Yes,
person. It
yes,
has no
yes,
no regard for your health,
yes,
physically, mentally, emotionally.
yes,
You know,
right. Yeah, yes, exactly. And
I feel that that needs to change. And
yeah,
think about the public. I mean, would you buy a product or a service from a business that does take care of their employees, that treats their employees again? It's like the part of the family. Is it functional or is it
yeah,
dysfunctional?
yeah,
That really cares about them. I would choose that. I would choose that. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of that. People are going
yes,
to want more transparency. They're going to want more, who am I buying this product from?
yeah.
Who's really behind all this? What is, what do they believe? How do they treat their employees?
Yes, I do believe that it's not just something that you and I are wanting, but you're pointing to something that actually your like research has established this pretty firmly, that especially with like the millennials and the younger generation, um, there has been a huge consciousness shift, and our younger generations are really mm, shifting to more of a values-based um, mentality when they make their buying decisions. Like they really all um, mm, like I know personally, I'm a millennial too, and I have this value. Like whenever I need to buy something, I'm like, okay, let me do a search. Eco-friendly version of this thing. Is there a company that's more socially responsible in the way that they create their product? And I'm willing to pay more if I have to. I mean, and if I can afford to. Like sometimes I am not able to afford the higher price tag, um, but then I really think about, do I really then need the thing that's made in a way that's not environmentally friendly and socially responsible? And I'm happy to say most of the time, my I'm able to hold back, like when I truly don't need that product, and I'm like, okay, I'll just hold back. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And the businesses that don't wake up and start to make these changes, we're going to see them fall.
yeah. Yeah, and it'll be like, not that I want businesses to shut down or bad things to happen in that way, but really, truly, like, they need to change. And
They need
yeah,
they need to be on the pulse. They need to understand
right.
what the community really wants. Where, what are the values of the community at this time?
Hmm.
Businesses that don't, that's just a lot of arrogance. I mean, that's the way it used to be, and that was accepted, but now
Yeah,
more and more it's not really accepted. And they're really quick to look for another solution,
yeah,
where in the past they didn't. Now they are. And so,
yes,
I think that she is again. I think that, businesses, again, and that's part of the values, right?
yeah,
Are they honoring, because I think that's a smart thing too, is, you know, um, honoring the importance of your employees, honoring the importance of your community, the people that you serve, the people that you are creating these products for.
hmm,
Um, they need to matter. When they don't think
yeah,
that they matter to you, then and they start to, I think that people are going to be more and more aware of it too, because I think
yeah,
that people are becoming more consciously aware
yeah,
of many things, many things.
yeah. And like, just from a spiritual perspective, the more you become aware of your own spiritual reality, the more you realize that we're part of the same whole. We're all interconnected. We're all interdependent. And so really, truly, when you care for other people, when you care for our planet, you are actually helping your own self.
Yes, that is how a business should be. The understanding of, the spiritual law of oneness. We are all
Yes,
connected. And
yeah.
what benefits one is going to benefit all.
Mm,
What doesn't benefit one is going to be the downfall. Is going to also affect all. So, as you were
mm,
talking, and you know, when a company goes through the hiring process, to really amp up the way that they hire, okay,
yes,
with really making sure that the employee does fall into alignment with the values, the mission statement, all of this, okay?
yes,
And once they really feel that they have the perfect employee for this position, they have, this employee would be, their strengths and their talents, really are lined up, and they would be able to utilize them, and really grow them and expand them. That, when they get that perfect employee, then I think that they need to take really good care of that employee. They
yeah,
need to make sure that that employee is, make sure that, just like a child, again,
yeah,
it's the family.
yeah,
Make sure you check in personally, professionally. How are you doing? Do you need
hmm,
something? The
yeah,
more that, they are in tune with everybody that's part of the machine, then it's going to flow really, really nicely, and everyone is going to grow and flourish. When your employees, they begin to really grow and they love, who doesn't appreciate being noticed, being taken care of in a way that, for instance, someone checking in, just asking them, how are things,
yeah,
and listening. And then
yeah,
if you do hear that, oh, they do have a problem in this area, maybe there's we can get a person in to maybe help them with that, or whatever,
yeah,
just kind of like, letting them know that they have support,
yes,
that that it's not a shame, because
right,
a lot of employees are afraid to say anything because they don't want to get fired,
right,
you know.
right,
So what if you had a culture and environment where you weren't afraid to speak up, and
yes,
that, and basically encouraged it, and there's a whole department, and I know that there is, the HR and all of that, but
yeah,
maybe even at I don't know, even I think everything needs to be overhauled, basically, and looked
yes,
at and looked at again and again
yes.
and again.
Oh, Carolyn, once again, I find myself in that situation where I'm like, we have to wrap up for the day. But I want to keep talking. There's so much more to talk about. Oh gosh, but we will wrap up for the day. Do you have any last thoughts you would like to share?
I think that we are in a time that we are there's so many opportunities right now. And this is time to really start to think outside of the box.
Yeah.
And you know, to begin to align more so, and like what we were talking about, the higher mind and the physical mind, really looking
Yeah.
at that concept even,
Mm,
looking at, well, maybe I should start to, try this meditation, you know. Um, I think I would love to see it as being something that's common practice in schools and businesses and then
yes.
even at home, because I just see that there's just so much benefit. But anyways, I think that we are at the threshold of creating a, a new reality, a new way of doing business, of living
Mm,
life that is just much more in flow, much more cohesive with
yeah.
who we are as a people,
Yes.
growing and expanding in all these wonderful positive ways, and in abundance.
Yeah.
I feel that abundance on all levels, including financially. That just happens. It's natural. It's innate. The more that we are in tune and what I call like the embodiment of the soul, just really living from, allowing that guidance to assist us, we're going to experience a lot more abundance, financially, and personally, and just multiple levels. And I'm just excited for what's happening, and for what's the future that we are moving towards.
Yes. Ah,
Thank you so much. Thank
oh,
you for
thank
having me on
you.
your show again. I really do appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Ah, just thank you so much. And I will just give a last reminder from my end to our audience. Please make sure you check the show notes because we will be dropping Carolyn's links there so you can connect with her and continue to learn with her. I hope we'll bring you back again, Carolyn. But don't wait for that to happen. Just go ahead, check the show notes, connect with Carolyn, continue to learn with her, and get the help and support that you need whenever you're ready for it. And until we connect next time, I wish you lots and lots of peace and joy.